Alright, so LOAON, that was wild. It's been a couple days now, and I've been thinking. Mostly tier 4 related. There's a lot of people who did detailed recaps, and that's just not what I want to do. So I do want to talk about some of the main features, but also I want to talk about how I think it's going to really affect the game. Tier 4 is actually going to be dropping Korea pretty soon, and then I guess Russia's getting it with Behemoth, which is in September, which I'm assuming that probably here in the West will probably be getting that too. It's only going to be a day now till AGS makes some sort of announcement. So first off, it's kind of hard to have resets when it comes to these pay-to-win free-to-play games. It's just really common in these kind of games just to not have them, and that's why Lost Ark has so many soft resets after Tier 3. Tier 4 itself is a soft reset on a lot of systems, and it's a pro that it always felt like people got to keep their progress. Everything they put into it, they got to keep, especially when it comes to monetization. When they invest in the character, it's harder for them to abandon it all. But with a hard reset, if you just wipe everything and they just basically feel like that they lost that money and or time, that's a good point for them to consider if they want to keep playing the game or not. The con of not having resets is that you don't really have a good jumping in point for new players. When games like World of Warcraft or Final Fantasy, they have these expansions, there's a reset. This is when a bunch of people start in and try the game. So I think overall just handling resets in this type of game is just hard. And the truth is, it's not something you can implement without just pissing off some people, and we're seeing that here. But with soft resets, the goal is to give players just enough that they still feel like it wasn't a waste of their time or money to continue. Which, pretty much that's how the monetization of these games kind of work too. Trying to find that place of grind and progression where people are considering whaling, but they're not trying to quit over it. And Lost Ark has gotten to the point where even the dedicated people, those who are well invested, are quitting. And I think that's the driving force of why they're doing a tier 4 and doing a lot of changes. They want to make some bigger changes for not only the existing player base, but also for the newer player base. Or at least try to get some to retain them. Now I think the Ark passive system is actually one of the more interesting things about this. In short, your set, engravings, ability stones, tripods, bracelet, main stats, and additional stats or QL and stuff like that, that's all going to be incorporated into this one system. It is a system you're intended to transition into over time, as you can end up with a 6x3 engraving set. But it fundamentally changes how all these systems work, and they make them actually work cohesively with one another. Because an issue / concern I've always had about Lost Ark is that it has a lot of system bloat to it. There's a lot of things going on, and as they add a new raid, they add a new progression system, but they literally just add a new window, a new mechanic, a new something, whatever, right on top of the rest. So here it's just putting a lot of this stuff all in one place while also changing how they all work. I'm really hoping there is some room for player expression in the year, as there is things like Gunlancer can now dash forward. But there will always be a min-max, there will always be a meta, so we'll just have to see how much wiggle room we have. It is kind of wild though that now basically you want a 10-7 stone. That's a bit, yeah. My only really big downside of the system is that it's a tier 4 system, it's not a system overhaul. Which that means for newer players, they have to go through tier 3 learning all the old systems to a degree, and then they gotta have to relearn how all these things work now in the new system moving forward. So it just adds a little bit more system bloat, especially for newer players, because they can't just skip the old system. I think for this to actually be like a system overhaul through the entire game, we'd pretty much have to have an AR situation, which yeah, I'd absolutely take one of those with UE5. Which, on the topic new players, I guess I should make a quick mention on solo raids. That is a W. They added it so you have a little less gold game, but you have a lot more bound materials off of it. Because now solo raids really makes a lot of sense, because they knew that this content here, this lower end tier 3 stuff, is going to be dead. People aren't going to be throwing their alts in this tier 3 content when tier 4 exists. But I do hope as we get tier 4 raids, they do extend solo raids in tier 3 higher and higher. But I do think between solo raids and the new Super Mokoko that is just implemented a roster wide to everybody will help people kind of push through tier 3 pretty quick. So a little bit more about T4 and how they're implementing it. I do think that a soft reset on gems is pretty good. Again, I think it's better than scrapping all the progress. And also now supports have to use damage gems, that's kind of big. Oh, also, there's no stupid minigames in tier 4 so far, and that's great. I hope they stay as far away from elixirs and transcendence type of minigames as much as possible. It's not even that they're a gold sink, it's that they take a lot of time, and since they are attached to gold, people are using calculators to get through them, which then again defeats the purpose of being a game. And it's not the player's fault for using a calculator to get through it faster and easier and cheaper. When it's designed to try to take away your gold, yes, people are going to want to make it take away less. It's not that deep. Now, they didn't really address much for fatigue, which initially it was kind of disappointing to think about. They added, yes, this 100 energy chaos replacement that's going to be once a day for 1.5 rewards, but since they're trying to simplify systems and I think just overall get rid of a lot of access to this game, I think the amount of daily and weekly stuff and what we're going to have to do in Tier 4 is going to be a bit different from Tier 3, even if we don't know the details yet. Meaning that addressing the issue of fatigue right now is kind of moot, because again, whatever changes they might make to T4 might inherently just change it then. So ultimately what I'm saying is the topic of fatigue is just kind of a wait and see situation. So the big question, does this save Lost Ark? On its own, no, it doesn't. And the reason is because we've already been through this many times. When you get a tier reset, you get a soft reset, everything is really good at the start because all the rates are pretty high and the cost is low. But in their attempts to make it quote unquote harder, it just makes it more frustrating and longer and less rewarding. As of right now, for example, we're getting 0.83 per hone. So historically, soft resets just kind of push that pain point back. So the concern is that, yes, things are fine for now, but eventually we're going to be at the same point of despair down the line. But the truth is that they took a pretty big risk on this, especially with the gem things, because that is angering a lot of people. And if they're willing to understand that they have to take these kind of big risks for the future of the game, I hope that means they won't fall into old habits. I hope that means that they have a new perspective on their design. So hopefully instead of this being, hey, just another reset, this is more a catalyst of when Lost Ark really changed. So while I think this can be the start of something great, I don't think that on its own it fixes all the problems. But I think it shows intention and I hope they follow through. So now I want to take a moment to talk about us, me, you, the players. We've now had multiple years plus of Lost Ark. We have experience of the game, we understand the game a lot more than when we came into it. The transition to Tier 4 is a really good time for a lot of people to take some time to do some critical thinking about their experience on Lost Ark and really how they want to tackle their roster moving forward. There has been a lot of regret from people from how they focus too many characters or play too many characters, and there's also been a lot of blame for people being influenced for this. Now it's all on us to decide how we want to play the game. Like the majority of my aesthetic, we're all pushing an entire roster up to endgame. We have 6th day mines. But we've acknowledged that, hey, it's a bit rough on time, and for us that on swipe, it's really hard to spread the power right. Nobody really wants their alts to feel like rats. And there's clearly some burnout and signs of burnouts in some of our members. What this boils down to is, as a group, we've kind of decided to lower down our actual pushing characters, our mains. We're going to actually probably do 2. Meaning we'll actually have just 4 ults. Now obviously that can change down the line. We don't know how the progression Tier 4 is going to be or stay, but overall we plan to take a reduction in our own hands because we just feel like it's going to be a better time for us as a group in the game. I've said this before and I'm going to say it again. It is not up to the game to respect your time. The game is designed to actually disrespect your time. It is there to monopolize you, your time, and your wallet. It is up to you to respect your own time, and that's kind of what we want to do. Now, it is kind of weird to think that we have 3 months probably until Tier 4. That's kind of really demotivating for those 3 months for a lot of people, I think. They made no mention of advanced honing transferring over or anything like that. They just said, hey, your 1620 gear becomes 1640. But advanced honing isn't really part of your normal item level. So people aren't really motivated to buy things. They're not really motivated to push. They're not really motivated to do much in these next 3 months. And it's very understandable. Knowing that most of what you do besides gain gold is kind of moot. Now, we should be an announcement from AGS tomorrow, and I actually do mean tomorrow because I should be editing and uploading this at the same day of recording, which is 6/9. But I think, if you're still 100% enjoying this game, 0 burnout, 0 problems like that, absolutely just keep on playing during this time. If you're feeling a little bit of burnout, maybe it's time to do a little bit more rested, kind of take this time to really unwind a little bit. Come back to T4 with a bit of a fresh mind. And then if you are dooming, if you do hate all this and you think it's going to ruin the game, absolutely take some time away and just wait for it to come out in KR, wait for it to come out here even, and just decide, once we have everything finalized, if this is going to be right for you or not. And for you guys, I know it's hard that you guys are losing out on things that you guys worked on, but the proof that we need huge changes is, again, it's really in the player count. We see it, especially here in the West. It accelerated over here. The Lost Ark, we know, Season 2, that happened because Season 1 was dying. They made gigantic overhauls even bigger than what they did this time. But the fact that they're going this far kind of shows that even KR was kind of trending down a bit. And while obviously KR is still doing great, like the game is still very popular over there, I think they just wanted to get an early start on it before people just exile. So to quickly wrap things up, I do think LOAON was a W. I think all these changes are great, as they all will affect the game better in the long run as opposed to keeping things the same. While no, it doesn't just save the game on its own, I think it could be a good catalyst for change. So that'll be it for the video. Thanks for watching, like, sub, and I'll catch you next time. Maybe even a day or two if I decide to react to whatever AGS puts out.